Hey everyone, I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower, joined once again by Laura Barth, research coordinator at American Floral Endowment. How are you today, Laura?
Great, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So, I get notifications whenever AFE announces their upcoming lineup of Grow Pro webinars, which are designed to educate the industry about some of the trends that are taking place in floriculture. And every time I see one of those, whether it's an announcement of the next webinar or whether it's the series as a whole, I wonder sometimes, how AFE decides what those topics are going to be. And then, the next step obviously is, who's going to be presenting on those topics. From your perspective, how does that process take place? And are there any upcoming webinars that you wanted to specifically highlight?
Yes, so I'm happy to tell you more about our process. Working on the Grow Pro webinars is probably one of my favorite parts of this job. And I want to share too that this has Grow Pro webinars have been going on since 2021. So we are in our sixth season of programming. And it's just really a privilege to be a part of this webinar series and also exciting to see how it's grown. In the past few years, we've had up to sometimes several hundred registrations or more per webinar. So it's really exciting that this is a resource that a lot of people seem to be taking advantage of.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. A lot happens behind the scenes to make this work. And I said it's very exciting to be a part of, but it's also, kind of a big responsibility too, just making sure we can continue to deliver, especially knowing that a lot of people are accessing these and expecting, actionable takeaways for their operations.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is well, at the end of each Grow Pro webinar, the attendees are directed to complete a short survey.
Okay.
And so they will share their feedback on the webinar itself and also what other future topics they might like to see.
Yeah.
So that is one thing we look into heavily. We compile all those results and we look at them and we kind of see, oh, there's a lot of people interested in this area or maybe this area. And so we have that on our radar.
Right.
Another thing that we, of course, do is try to line up funded AFE research with GrowPro because
Sure.
our research projects are funded to bring actionable results to the industry. So,
Yeah.
it makes sense for us to share as much of those results as possible through our webinars. And so, I reach out to some of our funded researchers, and the Fred C. Gleckner Foundation recently came under AFE as its own named fund.
Mhm.
So research is funded through that as well. So for this year's lineup, I have a couple speakers sharing their Gleckner research.
Sure.
We're also seeing really good results from that as well. So,
Nice.
we look at who we're funding in addition to the grower or the survey at the end of the webinar.
Yeah.
Last year, we also did a lot of just industry polling. Uh,
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it in one of our previous conversations, but we're really trying to just, you know, get a sense from the industry of what challenges they're facing, what kind of research or resources AFE can help fund, to provide some solutions or help support that. So
Sure.
I've looked a lot at the results from conversations I had from polling that we did from some of our surveys, and so kind of looked at all of that and including just in-person conversations too.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll talk to a grower or talk to somebody who, watches the webinars and has a really great idea or some suggestions, and so we take that into consideration too. So we kind of look at all of that and pool it together and, um, see what would maybe be a good lineup.
Sure.
We'll reach out to our researchers, um, maybe some speakers that have been suggested to us through conversations or through the surveys.
Okay.
Or maybe there's some people who other researchers or growers have been like, hey, this person's, really has some good insights. Maybe you should talk to them. So we'll talk to them as well. So there's, kind of a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And then once we have some of those pieces in place, we try to look at the timing of the year too. So,
Sure.
you know, there's a certain time of year that's better for different topics.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Much the same way that we approach our own editorial process and trying to aim topics at the right time of year. So, and I can say too, one of the things I appreciate that what you do at American Floral and Endowment is you make these webinars almost immediately available for on-demand viewing. I know I sign up for most of them, and every so often you get a meeting that pops up, and that conflicts with the webinar. So I'll always go in afterwards and listen. I know you don't have the live Q&A afterwards that you can use, but being able to get those perspectives after the fact is really valuable too, I think.
I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, we have been working really hard to get those recordings up, as soon as possible. Because yeah, we've noticed an increase too in our YouTube views, and so, that's actually another metric we use too to look at topics. Sometimes we'll see, "Oh, what webinars in the past have done really well?" Not that we wanna necessarily repeat,
Right.
the same topic, but that area is somewhere that we could, potentially focus on.
Well, and research is an ongoing thing, so you might look at it at the initial stage of a research project, for example, then maybe revisit it a couple of years down the road and see and talk to the same lead researcher and say, "Hey, what have you learned along the way? Where do things stand now? What are some of the next steps?"
Exactly, yeah, we love giving updates. That's one of the neat things about our research is that, there's not just updates at the end of the project, there's things that you can do throughout as well, so it's really great to be able to share it at all stages.
Absolutely, yeah. And for anybody watching this, you can go to American Floral Endowment's website, just search for Grow Pro webinars, and you can look at the full lineup of what's coming up throughout the year and make sure to sign up for those. Just speaking firsthand, those are extremely valuable resource for great information on what's happening on the research side of this industry because that's so valuable to the future of the floriculture market. As the research that's going on now, you don't necessarily see the results of it, now or even a year or two down the road. You're seeing it 5, 10 years down the road, how it can really benefit the industry in the long term. So a lot of great effort that you guys are putting into that.
Thanks, and I do wanna note, that we do have sponsorship opportunities available, so if, somebody watching this, has really gotten some, has found these beneficial and you would like to contribute, we do have 2 sponsorship tiers.
Okay.
So I'm happy to talk to you more about that. That information will also be on our website. And then also, even if you can't contribute at one of those sponsorship levels, any donation is helpful for us to continue funding useful research, useful programming. So, you can go to endowment.org/donate, and then you can just, at one point in the process, you can just kind of note where you want your donation to go to. So, uh,
Okay.
that'll help
Well,
us continue to put out this level of research and programming.
absolutely. And like I said, it's so valuable to the future of the industry. So, Laura, again, I want to thank you for joining me today to talk more about this. And again, if you're watching this, make sure to sign up for some of these webinars. It's certainly going to be a lot of great, valuable information for you and your business and your operation. So, thanks for joining me today, Laura.
Yeah, thanks for having me.